World Express 1333, are you ready to copy hold clearance?
World Express 133, we don't actually have hold capability. We can just keep going if that's possible. Don't be that guy. Hopefully this video helps you understand that every airplane can do a hold. Let's get into it. Alright, hello and welcome everybody back to another video. I'm your SimCFI. I really appreciate you stopping by. If you guys don't know, I'm a World CRJ pilot, fly CRJ 900 for a North American carrier. I used to be a flight instructor a while back. And by night, when I'm home, I like to make aviation content, and hopefully you guys enjoy. Today we'll be taking a look at holds, and not necessarily every single type of hold ever. We'll cover some of them, the three entries, and we'll cover some stuff, but I'm obviously not going to be able to cover everything that encompasses a hold, but we'll hopefully get a good majority of it. That way the next time you guys have a hold, it'll be easier for you guys to comprehend and fly it. Alright guys, so here we are up at 30,000 feet. We're just started our initial descent, and we are flying the Bellis 4 November arrival, which looks like this. We're coming in from the bottom of Bellis here. You can't see us just yet. Bellis has a crossing of 250 at below 160, so we'll plan for that. But this is the hold that we're going to be given in question here. So the Chambéry hold, the hold at Chambéry. Basically, our instructions are to hold as published at the Chambéry VOR intersection, whatever they want to give you. So the first thing that I want to kind of instill or say is, if you're already heading on that, like we'll be heading to Bellis, then Riti, then Chambéry, you're doing fine. But if they say clear direct Chambéry hold as published, it's different. Now instead of doing the star, Bellis, Realty to Chambéry, now we'd go on our FMS, the direct button, Chambéry, and we'd press execute on that, right, or enter in this case. So know the difference between hold that's published when you reach Chambéry versus clear direct Chambéry hold is published. Those are two different things. So the first thing is navigate to the correct points that you'll be going to, or think about where you're going laterally. The second thing I want you guys to start doing is start slowing down. Notice that on this star, we're going to say, for our example, that we're just going to fly the star, and then once we reach it, we're going to start our hold. So we don't have to go direct right now. We'll just do fly the star until we reach Chambéry, then we're going to hold. So notice that on Bellis here, we have a max of 250, not a minimum, and below 160, that's fine. And then at Chambéry, or 160, and then above 10,000 at Chambéry, which we'll be able to do just fine as well. So we're going to start slowing down, and the speed is, you know, what should I slow down to? Well, most jets, depending on their weight, most twin engines jets, the narrow body kind of stuff, 727, 320, CRJ, 37, most of those airplanes can go 220, 250 at 30,000, and then once you reach like 10,000 feet over there, you can go 200 most of the time. Now the Airbus and the Boeings will have you know, there's speed tapes that'll show you where you can go. The Airbus, you got green dot and all that great stuff. In these airplanes, these older style airplanes, you'd have to fly in a high and low speed Buffett chart, which I tried finding on this flight engineer panel, but I couldn't find it. In the CRJ in real life, we use those charts, and it'll take in our ISO deviation and our weight, and it'll spit out what is the minimum speed we can go at that altitude, what's a maximum speed we can go at that altitude. So I haven't found it just yet, but for today's example, we're going to slow to 220 in this descent, and then we're going to further slow to about 210 or so in the hold. And the reason that we want to slow down prior to even entering the hold is, as you can see on this chart, or as you can see, sorry, here in general, if we're out here and we're able to slow down, we might even slow down just enough that by the time we reach Chambéry, we might not have to hold at all. So that's goal number one. Goal number 2 is there's no point to be wasting a ton of fuel just, baking it in at the hold. There's no point to just be 250 knots in a hold just because you're just burning fuel for no reason. So you're going to slow down to your economy speed, which again, it depends on your airplanes. All of the hold speeds as well, there's usually a maximum speed. You can see here, even on the chart, it'll tell you by ATC, but it's a max of 220, max of 140 to a min of 10,000. So we'll probably aim for 12,000. So we're going to say the clearance is World Express 1333. Upon reaching Chambéry VOR, cleared into the hold as published. Expected for the clearance time, they might not have one for us. So expect for the clearance time we'll talk about later. But anyways, that's our clearance. So we're going to navigate, which we're already doing, towards Bullis, Realty, then Chambéry. Upon reaching Chambéry, you're going to enter the hold. The second part to this is we're going to slow down. And then the third part to this is I didn't give myself an altitude, but let's say the clearance said hold at 12,000 feet. That's the third part to this. You always want to make sure you're going down to the right altitude. So let's do this in real time. We're cleared direct from the star, continue the star, but once reaching Chambéry, we're going to enter the hold as published. So let's set 12,000 feet. That's what we've been given. This is one of the most forgot things I've heard from examiners on even airline check rides is you got the hold clearance, but you might have even entered in 12,000, but you haven't initiated your descent for 12,000 is usually what happens. So 12,000, we're starting our way down already. And again, there's no need to be going this fast. We're already basically idle thrust at the most part, so I could add spoiler if I needed. And what we're going to do, there's two things. I could either reduce my rate of descent from 3,000 feet per minute, or I can add spoilers. Well, we're 59 miles from Bullis, which is below 16,000. We have about 10,000 feet to lose. Let's see here, nav. We're going to be there in 8 minutes. We're losing 3 every minute. 3 is 6. That's 2 minutes. So we don't need to be descending at 3,000 feet per minute. We're gonna instead of using spoiler, we're just gonna reduce our rate of descent just a little bit. Maybe cut it in half or so. A little bit more. And we'll let the airplane just nicely slow down. We're gonna be aiming for roughly 220 or so in this ascent. Again, there's no point to be hauling at 0.78 if you're going into a hold. If people are waiting ahead of you, there's no point to speed up to wait. There's just slow down, and you might even beat the wait. That's kind of the methodology and goal. Okay, the next part about this is how are we going to enter this hold? Well, it's going to be pretty simple, and I'm going to pause this in, but we have 3 hold entry procedures or methods. Let me move the map so you guys can see it right there. We're coming in from here. Actually, this won't be as simple. This will be one of the more complex ones. Oh no, it is. My mistake. I read it wrong. This is the most simple one. This will be a direct entry, which basically means you're going to hit the fix and you're going to start turning to the right. Right turns are always standard when it comes to holds. So that's going to just be called a direct entry. We're holding on the inbound course of 026. That's our inbound course. Alright guys, so let's say you were given a different hold instruction. I've just changed the map because I noticed that it wasn't showing everything I was wanting to show. So now you should see everything on this chart. Again guys, just to reiterate, our inbound course is 026 into this hold that we've been given. Right, and we're direct entry holds. The next one will be given, let's say they cleared us direct GIVA and hold as published. This one's a bit more complicated. So just looking at this, I can tell what type of entry it's going to be, but I'll give you my little trick in a second. But take a look at this. It's still a standard hold. You can see it's turning to the right. Those are standard holds. A non-standard hold would turn to the left like that. The other thing is, if they say hold is published, it's up to you to determine if it's a left or if it's a right. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to tell you. Now, if they're just making up a hold, like, hey, hold at this waypoint, non-standard, and on an inbound of, 276, whatever, they can give you whatever they want. If they're making up a hold clearance for you, they're going to tell you non-standard, but if they say it's published, and it's whatever it is on the chart. So let's say they want us to go direct there. Well, first of all, we'll do the steps. So first things first is start navigating to it. Let's go direct Jiva. The second thing is let's start slowing down. The third is let's start descending or climbing depending on what altitude they want us to hold at. Keep in mind, if they say climb in the hold versus or descend in the hold versus descend and maintain or climb and maintain whatever before reaching the hold, there's two different things. You can climb or descend in a hold, and then you can also be level prior to the hold. Usually they want you level prior to the hold, but they could give it to you in the hold. So we've already gone direct. Let's say we've been given direct that Jiva waypoint and hold is published. We've already gone direct. We've slowed down and we've started descent. Let's say it was to 12,000 feet. The next thing is, how are we going to enter this hold? So this one again, right hand turns. However, now we're coming at it like this. We can't just, do some wacky stuff. The easiest thing to do in your brain to think about this is we want to be turning always in the protected airspace zone. The protected airspace is the side of where the hold is. This side. You don't want to be turning on that side. So this is going to be what's known as a parallel entry. We're going to come in opposite the direction that we're supposed to be flying. Notice we're supposed to be flying that way. So we're going to come in the opposite direction, hit the fix. You can see these are 1 minute legs, so we'll probably go out for about 1 minute, 45 to 55 minute timer. As soon as that 55 seconds is up, you're going to turn in the protected airspace. You're going to turn left. But you're not going to do this. That's not the hold we're trying to do. We're going to turn left and go direct to the fix. And now you've just created yourself that direct entry that we have over here. So that is a parallel entry, or sometimes I think people call it a teardrop if I'm not mistaken, but we call it parallel. So, and that's how you can do it. And now you just start your hold. Okay, now there's one more. There's something called the offset entry. You're basically turning to the right. There's nothing on this chart that can show that, but again, we're not going to be covering every single thing in this video. But if you guys want to look up hold entries, there's a bunch of videos on hold entries you guys can look up. Most FMSs, once you plug in this hold, will calculate what type of entry it is, and it will do it for you. Okay, so just know that if we're going direct Jiva, and they want us to hold this published, first of all, it's 1 minute legs. We're going to slow down to about 210, descend to 12,000, direct Jiva, hit the fix, outbound for about a minute, left all the way back direct, and then we can call established in the hold, and you just do circles. All right, so let's go back to our example, which is just a nice and easy direct entry hold. So what's going to happen? Well, now that we're going to this waypoint, we know where we're going. Another thing I want you guys to keep in mind, and we're going to get to tuning to this because you can't do a hold with this guy. It doesn't work. So I'll have to actually do a classic VOR hold. What we have to do now is just quickly start thinking about fuel. I'm going to bring up our flight plan. And if I go down here, this is, by the way, guys, the JZA format. When you're making your flight plan on SimBrief on the website, you can scroll to the just a little bit down below where you pick your plane and all that, and there should be something that says OFP layout. You can use the Lido, but I don't like it. I would use an airline's more OFP just because they're more structured in the way that airlines operate. They're pretty much exactly the same as that airline has it. So there's, I believe there's an American, I believe there's a Delta and Air Canada. So we're using the JZA format as I fly the CRJ a lot, and that's really good for the RJ and the Sim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the waypoint that we're holding at. I'm going to scroll down here. We're looking for CBY. There it is right there. You can see it tells me the frequency of 15.4. We're going to scroll to the right, and you can see these two numbers. I know what these numbers mean, but if you never know what they mean, you can always go to the very top, and then you get a legend here. So we have our planned fuel on board and our minimum fuel on board. Let's go back to where that was. I think it was these guys, just based off the numbers. Yes, it is. So our planned fuel at Chambéry VOR is 12,000. Our min fuel at the Chambéry VOR is 96. We'll call it 9,700. Even maybe 10,000. We'll add some fudge factor in there. So we have, let's say this is 10,000. We have a 2,000 pounds of holding fuel. That's how I did that. This is where we should be. This is our min. Once we reach this minimum at Chambéry, we're going to the alternate. We either get in, we can either exit the hold and start the approach, because we are technically at the min fuel. We can still go. But if we have to hold for longer, and we know we're going to hold for longer below this number, we got to go to the alternate. Okay? So that's how we kind of quickly calculate that. Now, let's go check what our fuel is. Now, we're not at Chambéry just yet. We're showing roughly 15,000 pounds. We're going to get a bit closer to Chambéry and we'll have a better representation. So let's unpause the sim here. And as we unpause, I'll give you guys, let's see, we're at 15,000 pounds and we're not even at Bellis. Let's look at Bellis. Let's see how much fuel we need at Bellis to be passing that. At Bellis, our plan is 12.1, so I think we're way up on fuel. We have a lot of holding fuel right now. So we'll check back at Bellis. Once we reach it, we'll check our fuel. But it's looking like we have 5,000 pounds of holding fuel. So I know there's a lot of steps to this, guys, but maybe if you want to write this out, it makes it easy. This all goes on in our brains once you get very experienced with it in the airline world. But anyways, we're gonna probably have about, we'll call it 4,000 pounds of extra fuel, and I'll redo that number with you in a second, but that's my rough estimate. And if we look over here, right now we're at idle thrust, so it's not really a good representation of what how much fuel we're burning. But roughly, this airplane at about 10,000 feet burns about 25 to 3,000 pounds per side, per engine. So what that basically means is we'll do 2,500 times 3. We're burning roughly 7,500 pounds per hour. Notice this is per hour, pph per hour. Right now we're at idle, so this is not what we're burning. We're going to be more kind of up there in the fuel range area to hold speed, and when we get lower, the altitude is worse for holding speed as well. So let's say they roughly burn 2,500 pounds per hour per engine. We have 3 engines, so 25 times 3. We get roughly 7,500 pounds an hour. If we're going to have 4,000 pounds of extra fuel, how long in time do we have to wait in a hold? We burn 75 in an hour. We have 4,000 remaining. Well, there's a quick little easy math calculation you can do for yourself. Okay, an easy way to do this just on the fly without using a calculator, math, or anything is cut 7,500 in half. So 7,500 was our total burn in 1 hour. We're burning 7,500 pounds in an hour. Cut it in half. It equals 3,750. Pretty close to 4,000. So we basically have 30 minutes of hold fuel, just a little over. We'll call it, we'll round down. We'll use the 3,750 number as a bit of a fudge factor number. Okay. That's the quick way I did that. So we have 7,500 pounds that we're going to burn in 1 hour. Half of 7,500, whatever that number may be, is 30 minutes. So in this case, half of 75, half your total burn in an hour is 30 minutes, which in our case is 3,750. We have 4,000 extra. We'll say we have 30 minutes of fuel. It's very crucial to convert your pounds of fuel in minutes, as you and ATC work better in minutes. You can tell the guy I have 2,000 pounds of fuel. You know, that changes depend on a 777, Concorde, 37. A few thousand pounds in a Concorde lasts about 4 seconds. So it'll depend on what plane you're doing. So it's always important to convert your fuel into minutes. So now we know, let's bring this up. First off, our bingo, our bug out fuel is, let me write it here. You can write it on the chart. You can write it anywhere. Our bug out or a bingo, basically the time where we're going to go to the alternate is 10,000. Sorry for my online PC writing. I'm going to steepen this descent just a little bit more, as we got to be below 16,000 at Bullis. Just a little bit more. Okay, and we have 30 minutes to just burn off in the hold. That's just burning off in the hold. That's how we did that. Okay, so now it's time for a TSAFE brief, and we do this real world. The pilot flying would give this briefing, and we write it like this. That's an A. Sorry. Some people add an R, TSAFER, at the end. So let me pause the sim for the time being. The T stands for type. Okay, so what type of entry / hold are we doing? Is it going to be a direct entry standard? Is it going to be a parallel non-standard? What type of hold and entry are we doing? So in this case, it'd be a direct entry. All right, I'll put a D for direct entry. Oops. You know what? I'll put all the answers in green. Direct entry hold. That's close, I guess. Okay, the next one is speed. All right, what speed are we going to be in the hold? Have we been assigned a speed / what is smart to be at? 300 knots, or 220 knots, 230? Unnecessary. Let's slow down. What's our econ speed? So figure that stuff out before you brief this, of course. We're going to say 200 in our case. Should be good enough. In the CRJ land, we take our flap 30 speed and add our flap 0 speed and add 30 knots. So what we can do, it looks like flap 0 is 194. 194 plus 30 is oh, I did that wrong. 194 plus 30 is 224. So you can do it like that in the 727 as well. But we'll be fine at 200. Okay, the next one's an A, which stands for altitude. Okay, we've been assigned 12,000 feet. That one's easy. I'll just put 120. The last, or the second one, or I can't even count. The fourth one here is fuel. We have 30 minutes of fuel. And then the E is estimated further clearance time. I'll just put EFC, which a lot of FMSs will write it like that in their FMCs. Estimated further clearance. This is given to you by the controller. So if they've said you're clear direct, whatever, enter the hold, and 200 knots, 12,000 feet, call when established, your expect further clearance time is 22:05 Zulu. Basically, it's the time where you expected to get let out of the hold. Sometimes they give it to you, sometimes they don't, but we would brief that as well. That way, it gives us a window. Sorry if you guys hear the F-35 outside. There's an air show going on. But that's why it gives us a window of how long can we expect to hold. If we have 30 minutes of fuel and they say expect further clearance and it happens to be 40 minutes, we can maybe hold for 15 and see if it gets better, but then we're probably just going to bug out early because it's probably not going to get any better. Or we can let them know, hey, we only have holding fuel for 30 minutes, so maybe they can resequence us. If they don't give you an expect further clearance time, you can always ask and they may give you one. Okay, and the last one here is the reason for the hold. This one is not too important. It doesn't really matter, but depending on what the reason is, for example, if the airport's closed you know, why is it closed? How long is it to be closed for? Is it even worth holding? You know, that it could kind of play a factor, but a lot of people kind of skip that one. But yeah, that's that. So TSAFER. So we'll get rid of that. You guys can take a picture of that. We'll delete. We'll clear all this. So if I was the pilot flying, we're above 10,000, at least for my SOP and my airline. So I'm able to brief this and still be pilot flying. If we're below 10, I'd have to transfer control. But I'd say, you ready for the hold brief? And they'd say, yep. And I say, okay, well, we're going to be holding at the Chambray fix. It's going to be a direct entry, all turns to the right. And what I mean that is we're going to hit the fix, turn right forever. Whereas on the other one, up here, the first turn is to the left, right? And then right. So that'd be the difference on that. Our speed in the hold will be 200 knots. We've been cleared 12,000 feet, 12,000 set. We're descending for that now. Our fuel, see, and it's good, you could just, you know, go through the letters in your brain. T, S, A, cover the altitude, F. Fuel, we have 30 minutes of whole fuel, and then we're bugging out to the alternate, which I don't even know what it is, but you obviously know your alternate when you're when you're doing this for real. And then you're estimated for the clearance. We don't have one. A reason, they don't like us. There you go. There's your T-safe brief, and everybody's on the same page. All right, we're not going to really say, you know, we're going to hit the fix at 026. I'm going to start my timer. It's not like a approach brief of a hold. It's not like that. Both pilots in real world know how to do a hold for the most part. So it's more about where are we in the term of big picture stuff, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm just going to reduce my rate of descent a little bit there. All right, so now all that's left for us to do is start the hold. So what we're also going to do is notice that this is a VOR hold, and this FMS can't do holds. At least I don't know how to make it do it. I've tried, even with that hold button that's right there. You can put in the fixed CBY, and it just gives you coordinates. So I don't really know how to hold off of that, unless it builds one in here. No. So I'm going to hold the old-fashioned way. All right, notice we're coming up to Bellis. We're going to be below 16,000 feet. That's going to work out nicely for us. Let's go ahead and dial in the frequency. The frequency is 15.4. 15.4, 15.4. Be sure not to overwrite your loc frequency if you had one in there. Okay, there we are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the heading indicator dead center. I'm going to go off of LNAV. We'll go heading select. And we're going to select from GPS to VOR or nav mode. And we're going to set this course to 026. And then we're going to tell our autopilot to fly in a course of 026 towards that VOR. And now we're going to be on this extended center line. 026 inbound, that is. So we're doing the 026 radial, which would be, let's see if I can do it quickly, but 210 radial, if my math is correct. Actually, you can just look at the opposite side of the HSI and my math is correct. So it'll be the 21 or the 20 like 6 radial, pretty close to 210. But radial, by the way, guys, is a heading that comes away from the station, and a bearing is to the station. So we're flying 026 to the station, but we are coming from the west. We're coming from 206. We're from 206 going 026. So just the reciprocal of that. All right, the next thing is we're 18 miles. Let's get a bit lower towards that 12,000 feet. Gonna use a bit more spoiler in there. The next thing is, as you can see, it says it's a 1 minute leg. So get your timer ready. You're gonna need a stopwatch. We're getting a little slower. That's some speed. You're gonna need a stopwatch. I'm not sure how to make this become a stopwatch. I don't think you can. You can kind of just change the time. So what we're gonna do is you can use your iPhone in the sim. And you could, I guess, use it in real world, but most airplanes, we all have chronos, and we'll start the timer and all that kind of stuff. So get your timer ready, basically. and we will be using it today. So I'm just going to get a standard, iPhone timer. Keep in mind that all your turns in the hold are going to be what's known as a rate 1 turn. Let me pause for a second. A rate 1 turn, thank you, is a complete 360. If I started from 0, we'll call it 030 for easy numbers, and did a rate 1 turn to the right, for example, all the way to the right, it would take exactly 2 minutes to get back to 030. Okay, so at a rate 1 turn, half of 2 minutes is 1 minute, so you'll do 180. So basically what they're saying is, if you're doing a rate 1 turn, in 1 minute, you'll be facing that way. 1 minute this way, 1 minute, 1 minute inbound, 1 minute. So 1 for the turn, 1 for the outbound, 1 for the turn, 1 for the inbound. So these holds is a standard 4-minute hold. That's actually the standard holding time. So that's fine. But now we got to figure out how to get a rate 1 turn. Some airplanes don't tell you when you're in a rate 1 turn. The 172 and stuff does with those turn coordinators. But I don't believe that this airplane does. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure this doesn't tell you about a rate 1 turn. And I probably am wrong. It probably does. But anyways, there is a calculation to figure this out. Okay, and it requires your true airspeed. However, because I don't know where that is in this airplane, as terms of the gauges / even on this FMS, it's not giving it to me, I believe. See the next page. Next page. TAS. Oh, perfect. 273. There you go. So the calculation is true airspeed divided by 10 plus 7. Okay, so 2. We're currently at 270. Divided by 10 is 27 plus 7. So right now, that's a pretty high bank angle. We're going to be at a 34-degree bank angle for a rate 1 turn. It's probably not going to happen. The other thing is we're going to get a little bit lower, just a tad bit lower, and we're also going to get a bit slower. So we're going to call it about basically 30 degrees, 25 to 30 degrees, and that'll give us our rate 1 turn. For example, the slower you go, the shallower the bank. The steeper you go, the tighter you have to bank to get around that corner. Okay, let's keep it going. Now you can hand fly the hold. In fact, let me put up my flight directors. And I'm going to put it in heading mode with altitude hold on, so I have an idea of where that is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the course set to 026, but I'm going to set the heading indicator to the opposite. We're level at 12,000 feet. Okay, I'm going to get my timer ready. We have 10 miles till we're at this hold fix. All right, my timer is out. A stopwatch, I should say, on your iPhone app. Oops, I'm drawing again. You can see, you can always use Navigraph as a tool. You can see we're coming here. Gonna be slowing down nicely to 200 or so. What's our task now? 250. That's a bit better. We'll do the calculation again. 250 divided by 10 plus 7. 32 degrees. Not that much better. can't really do that much. All right, now you can either do this autopilot. I'm gonna put it in heading. You know what? Let's not put it in heading mode. Let's bring this back here. You can do this with autopilot with heading mode, or go heading select, off, and heading select, or you can just manually fly it. It's just going to be a right turn, right in the hold. I'll put this visual up so you guys can see it there. And I'll put it maybe a bit smaller off the left. As soon as we hit the fix, I'm going to start my timer. And in 1 minute, I want to be facing the other way. Your autopilot, and most autopilots are tuned to do rate 1 turns as well. Not all of them, but most times they are. All right, we're coming up to the fix. You can see we're in this inbound leg now, so it should roughly take a minute. Actually, that's not true because we're going a different speed. A minute is just for the outbound. Disregard my last statement. That didn't make sense. All right, and I'd say if they wanted me to call, usually they do. I'd say approach or center, World Express 13E33, entering the hold 12,000 Chambéry. They say Roger, and then once we've kind of on this outbound leg, we've kind of done a revolution, I'd say establish in the hold. Okay, let's start turning. Start my timer. Watch that speed. Okay, and we're holding. This is a hold, right? You don't need the FMS to do this for you. You can even do it hand flying if you wanted to. Right? We have now entered the hold over Chambéry as published. 12,000 feet. Nice and slow. Alright? We're 30 seconds through the turn. We're not quite halfway, which tells me I need to increase my bank angle a bit. We're going to do a little bit more. And I'm just going to hand fly a little bit here. Not quite a minute. We're coming up on 55 seconds. And there's 1 minute. So we have about 30 degrees to go. We're just going a bit quick. That's okay. We're going to do 1 minute outbound here. And don't be afraid. Let's put the autopilot back on. Don't be afraid if your hold doesn't look like it's on the chart. This chart is not to scale. So don't worry about that. Oh, I didn't push heading select. That's my mistake. There we go. It's going to look a bit weird, but that's because I threw it back on autopilot. Alright, now we're going to start a timer for this 1 minute outbound leg here. And you can say to center, World Express 1333 is established in the hold, Chambéry, 12,000. Okay, and we're just going to just start at a timer. We're going to go for 1 minute. Let's watch our speed. Let's bring our speed down a little bit. Now this is for a very light wind hold. If you had wind, let's say we had a wind from the left pushing us this way, you'd have to steer a bit more into the wind to actually get a correct hold, if that makes sense. Coming up on 40 seconds. It's always good to take note of what fuel you've entered the hold in as well. It's a lot of things for one person to do. All right, we're going to start our turn. There's 55 seconds. We'll start a little early because we're going to be going straight for a bit. All right, we're going to go all the way back, and we're going to try to intercept this radial. So I'm going to maybe, or this bearing, so I'm going to maybe do north, and then we're going to intercept inbound on that track is our goal. Maybe both. 330 actually. Now, while we're doing that, I'm going to quickly take a look. Actually, let's go back up. We're in this continuous descent because the autopilot doesn't have that mode engaged. It is a bit harder to do this style, obviously, with an FMS, but it's definitely possible. Let's get back up there. Gotta be watching everything all yourself. Let's go back and take a look at our fuel. We're at 12,000 pounds of fuel. We have 2,000 pounds of hold fuel left. Okay, guys. Now, in our autopilot, we can just set this to navloc and it'll capture back inbound if we wanted to. But we'll do it manually here. As soon as I see the line start to move, I'm going to start to cut in. Start maybe inching it just a little bit. I want to keep it kind of in a rolled state, in a banked state. There it is. Turn inbound. Okay, and we're flying this for a minute. Kind of overshot a little bit. That's okay. You're gonna make mistakes on the first revolution around. You'll have to do a little corrections. Let's go nav loc, and it should intercept the inbound course. If it doesn't, I'll do it manually again. Yeah, we're so close to the VOR that it's not gonna do it. So we'll go back to heading select. Okay, we're getting really close. We're at 2 miles, so this needle's gonna start going nuts anyways, because it gets very sensitive near the VOR. And you're gonna see this flag flip. It is flipped. We're about 10 seconds early. That was 50 seconds. So let's do that again, and we're gonna watch our speed a bit better next time. And it's just, you're gonna be fixing it as you go. And again, the first hold is not gonna be the prettiest, and you're gonna fix some stuff. Now, I wouldn't recommend, you can do it, but I wouldn't recommend turning off autopilot, turning on autopilot, turn off autopilot, turn on autopilot. I would just get into the mode and leave it there. You can see as you saw me make a mistake, we were a little low and we were just in that drifting descent, and that's because that button wasn't pressed. And this airplane can get away from you very easily, especially when it's a single crew operation. So this is it. We're in the hold, and I hope that I've proven to you guys that this airplane can hold. Any airplane can hold. Hold is just a racetrack around a point. And you can do that even with Navigraph if you wanted to. You can get it as close as you want. You can all do it with the timer, and that's about it. So we'll do one more revolution, guys, so you guys can see, and we will end it there. World Express 1333, make that the last revolution. You're clear to resume the star, and we'll have vectors for final for you shortly. Okay, this is the last revolution, then we'll resume the star for World Express 1333. Okay, we've just rolled out on our outbound. Let's start our timer again. Going for about a minute. Now, they want us to resume the star after this. So I'm going to have the direct page open. And I'm going to have the Indus waypoint ready. So once I pass or just close to Tranberry, I'm going to click enter, and we're going to go to GPS, and then I'm going to click LNAV, which is nav loc. And I'll do that. Take a look at our fuel. Every outbound, it's nice to look at your fuel, have a nice idea. We're still at the 12,000 area, so we could have held for another... I could hold for another, let's see how much fuel we're burning right now. We're burning 222, so we're burning 6,000 pounds an hour. We're at 12,000 pounds of fuel. Our 10 is our minimum. So we got another about, half of 6 is 3. Got another about 20, 15, 20 minutes in the hold. All right, there's that 1 minute up. Let's go ahead and turn inbound. A little bit of power. Hey guys, now I just picked 200 knots as a base number. That's just the RJ kind of lives around 205, somewhere around there. But for your airplane, you'd want to look up the correct chart and see what your see what speed you'd be holding at. And in the CRJ land, I don't know if it's the same, but we just use our flap 0 plus 30 knot speed when it's below 25,000. Sure, when it's below 14,000, I believe. I gotta take a look at that again. Alright, let's go off of this. Let's make this a little steeper right to the max bank of 30 degrees. There we go. Just to go a little bit steeper, pull up a bit for my altitude loss. And we're just going to make it cargo so we can go as hard as we want. Anyways, I think you saw the point there, guys. And then we'd be cleared for to continue the star. So the way I would do that is let's set our heading indicator about there. Let's go ahead and re-engage the autopilot, re-engage alt cell and heading mode. We'll go GPS on that switch. We're going to press execute on Indus and then LNAV, and now we are resuming the star. You can see the next one would be above 7,000 and so on. You would continue on your star. And we're leaving the hold. You'd say we're exiting the hold, direct Indus. You'd tell ATC that. Still with basically just under 12,000 pounds of gas, 11.5 or so. All right, guys. So I hope you appreciate this this video. Again, I'm not perfect. There's going to be mistakes in here, I'm sure, but hopefully you guys liked it and learned something. I never want to hear this airplane can this airplane do a hold? The answer to that question is every single airplane can do a hold. It just depends on how hard you want to work at it. Now, there's definitely easier ways to do it, and there's definitely harder ways to do it, but every airplane is able to do a hold. If this was a GPS point like Jiva, it would be a bit trickier because now you now you'd have to go in what's known as an OBS mode, which this can't do. You would need a Garmin 530, and then it can use GPS mode. But I think there's a lot of missing features from here, and features I don't even know how to use yet. So it would be trickier, but you can definitely still get it done if you wanted to. Anyways, I hope you guys liked this video, and we will see you on the next one. Please comment what you learned if you did, and I always like looking at the comments. So we'll see you guys in the next one.